So last time I didn't have any way to cut stuff. So this time I'm going to go ahead and put the flue and everything on before I start. So I'm just going to make it 14 inches. Sounds about right. I don't know if there's a science to it or not, but that's how long this thing is. So that's where I'm going to put it. All right. And then to get the curve, I'm just going to put it over here on this. Line up each line with the edge. And there's my little bit of a curve. Alright, so I went ahead and prepped both things. That way I just get the plasma cutter going and I'll be finished with it all. I know I say it every time I use it, but you just gotta love that thing. Well, I just boogered them on there, but I think it'll hold smoke. That's the best I could do with this real thin. I just kept putting holes in it and stuff, so I just finally just started doing little tack welds all the way across, and that seemed to work a little bit better. The other side over there came out a little bit better, but it ain't coming off, so I guess it'll hold.
Beep beep, Brutus.
Brutus, you're gonna have to move. Watch out.
Ready.
Oh. Center it up like you like it.
It is.
Good?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Oh.
There we go. Now I'm just going to fix the door, but I'm going to do that tomorrow. It's getting kind of late. And I'm just going to let this burn tonight. I'm going to start a fire in there in a second. Got one comment about using a blowtorch to start a fire. Well, look how easy that is. This isn't primitive survival. This is pizza oven in the backyard. So right now I'm just going to stoke this full so I can get tonight a fire and get a bunch of hot coals and everything else in there. Burn off anything that might have been on it. The old paint and everything else. And then tomorrow I'll work on the door and we'll test it out. $1,200 degrees. I was going to put some feet on it, but they didn't really work out like I planned, and this is really what I wanted anyway, something you can just set up real quick, dump out the ashes when you're done, and put it in the back of the shop. The bricks and the stuff like that, there was just too much to gather, and I only used it 1 or 2 times, and then it just sat and rusted in the backyard because being upside down it held water and all the bricks. So we used the bricks on something else and threw that thing away because it just was not easy. This is the easiest thing you're gonna ever do, except for maybe welding this on here, but you could just drill a hole and your heat would come out the top like that, especially with your door on here in the front. You wouldn't even have to have a flue, but you know, I put it on there because I got the welder, but you could just drill you a hole and get you some pipe, some of that 6-inch vent pipe from the Home Depot or whatever, and shove that in the hole and make your own. You know, you wouldn't have to have a plasma cutter like I did. You could use a jigsaw, just drill a pilot hole that's big enough for your blade to go in, and then get a jigsaw and cut it out. So could be done with pretty easy tools. And then just get something like this, and that'll sit in there flat, and you just put your pizza stone on top of that, and then you can drag your coals underneath it and everything else. But I really would rather get a little bit. This one's not quite as big as I'd like. If you get like the 20-inch ones or whatever, it would be a little bit higher, but I think this will be just fine. So I just threw the lid in the fire pit and had a nice fire last night and burned all the paint and everything off, and now I'm just grinding it down, and I'll cut it off about a third down, and that just snaps into place. And here I'm just welding on a handle so that you can put it on and off real easy without burning yourself. And then just need to finish it off by welding on a couple of little tabs and a little spring latch. Okay, I'm gonna get this lit up here in a second. We had a fire last night, so I threw some coals in there. It's kind of smoldering right now. I'll just leave this open until it lights and get it warmed up. But this will make a perfect pizza stone in here. It's just a cast iron lid that we picked up. It's been sitting out here for a year rusting because I'm not gonna use it for anything. So I thought, well, I'll just leave it in here. I've got these bricks. Only the reason I've got them in here is because, like I mentioned earlier, if you had a little bit wider rack where it would sit properly, that would be perfect. 22 inches seems to be about right, and it would be about this height, which I think is going to be just perfect for being able to get your pizza in and out and being up high enough and not sitting so low. So I think if you can find a rack that's 22 inches, rectangular rack, it'll just sit right in there, balance itself out pretty easily. Otherwise, I just put these bricks in here for that purpose only. Also, if you can just find a rack that's the right size, you can pull your coals down a little bit and kind of help with that heat. But let me get this fired up and then we'll test it out with the pizza. Ooh, that's hot. I broke it a little bit, but look at that.